Let's talk media and the election campaign and the ABC and all that sort of stuff with Sophie Elsworth, who joins us every Monday. She's the media writer at The Australian. Good to talk to you again, Sophie.
You too, Chris.
Now, I love the yarn today about these former ABC people who, of course, were all paragons of objectivity when they worked at the ABC, are now out there running a campaign for the so-called voices of Green Left independence and the like, and attacking the coalition government and demanding more money for the ABC. It's hilarious. But you've had a great development on that story today by revealing that they're actually working with the Get Up mob, the loony left, far left activist mob Get Up. So I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. I'll just show you some of this video that you've reported from. Here's Jonathan Holmes, the former Media Watch host at the ABC.
Our strategy is to provide a bit of star power and clout where we can to organisations like the Friends and Get Up to some extent, although we're a little bit more cautious about Get Up.
Very modest of him to refer to his own star power, of course, but tell us about the significance of this mob actually working in with Get Up.
Chris, this is really quite shocking that the ABC Friends and also ABC alumni who are at awful pains to say we've got nothing to do with the ABC, we're completely at arm's length, have just admitted here, Jonathan Holmes, who is part of the ABC alumni, that they're working in cahoots with Get Up. Now, Get Up is a leftist activist group, very controversial, and one that is absolutely always piling on the coalition. They're a group of very hard right, green left activists, as you know, Chris. And the fact that the former ABC staff, such as Jonathan Holmes, we've got Kerry O'Brien, we've got these types popping up at events where these fake independents are running, and pretty much helping them in their campaigning. This just shows to me, Chris, throughout this whole thing, throughout this whole election campaign, that these ABC journalists are showing their true political stripes. And are we really to believe that when they're at the ABC they were neutral? I think
exactly.
Not, Chris.
They've all just had a conversion afterwards. I think you mentioned hard right there with the Get Up. Hard left, of course. They see anybody,
hard left.
Anyone mainstream is hard right to them. You mentioned Kerry O'Brien. Let's have a look at what he's had to say.
It is now a matter of formal party policy in the Liberal Party to privatise the ABC. The distinguishing thing I would say about Labor in its attitude to the ABC, I know many times when if looks could kill, the ABC would have shrivelled up from some of the Labor leaders over many years. But the formal party policy of the Labor Party and the philosophical belief of the Labor Party is that a strong public broadcaster is actually a virtue.
Honestly, Sophie, what a lot of tosh. In other words, he says Labor good, coalition bad, and oh yes, Labor they've been absolutely monstered by the ABC over time. Who's he trying to kid? And at the start, he hangs all this on. So yes, there was a motion passed at the Liberal Party conference to privatise the ABC. It'll never happen. They've never adopted that policy. They've just signed a 3-year funding deal with the ABC, increasing its funding. I mean, this is just crap from O'Brien, isn't it?
It absolutely is crap, Chris, and they're running a scare campaign, which is completely ludicrous. Labor has got no intentions of ripping the ABC and privatising them, nor has Liberal. And this is just complete nonsense. And why they're running this campaign is just nonsensical. And as you said, they've got $3.3 billion in funding over 3 years. And these ex-ABC staffers are still not happy. Nothing will ever make them happy, Chris.
Indeed. Excuse me. I've got my post-COVID cough going. I just wanted to move on to how some others in the media, some of the other prominent leftists, of course, were hoping that this whole campaign would be them just anointing Anthony Albanese as Prime Minister, cheering him to the throne, and they're now starting to see this might be a little bit more difficult than that. The voters might actually want to have a say in it. So I think this little exchange you've pointed out to us from The Project is worth a look.
Labor was so far ahead just 1 week ago. So 1 week of an election campaign can wipe out 3 years of lived experience for a lot of voters who've seen gaffe after gaffe after possible lie from Scott Morrison. 1 week may have wiped all of that out.
Yes, certainly all the problems he had with women's issues for those 3 years, the NDI spend, the lack of voice for Aboriginal people, I think aged care, the treatment, the fact that so many people died in aged care without being injected and that sort of stuff. All this, and the sports rorts and those sorts of things, nothing surfaced. It's just been a matter of Albo's mistakes.
They just have no idea, do they, Sophie? They believe their own publicity because they've worked themselves into a lather with all these sort of peripheral and personal attacks on Morrison. They think that's reality. And now when you actually have a proper debate about some of the issues of substance, they're surprised that Anthony Albanese isn't as good as they cooked him up to be.
Well, look, I think they're pretty much in mourning over at the project there, Chris. I mean, you can just see they must be going home crying into their pillows every night since this election campaign started. It's been a disaster from Anthony Albanese, to say the least. Now, Ray Martin did an interview with Lisa's husband, Peter Fitzsimons, recently, and actually said that this is the worst government we've ever had. And he went on to say that it's time to get rid of Scott Morrison.
Sorry to jump in there, Sophie. We do have a graphic of that, so we can actually share the quote with viewers. He says, does Ray Martin, that Goff's It's Time campaign was 50 years ago to the year. I think it's time again. I've interviewed every Prime Minister since Bob Menzies, and I think this is the most incompetent government we've had. It's time. Wow. Don't know where he was when Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd were in the frame.
Oh, look, it's amazing, Chris, but it's so much fun watching over at the project. As I said, they're all in mourning. They're just devastated with what Anthony Albanese's put up in the last week. He's been an absolute disaster, and he's, really showing that he's not up to being the next Prime Minister. And goodness knows how Lisa Wilkinson's coping with this. I mean, we know she cheers for the left, can't bear the right. She must be devastated with what's unfolding, Chris.
She must indeed. Thanks so much for joining us, Sophie. Have a good week. Sophie Elsworth there. You get all this stuff in the Australian